So we've got some poly wrap, 6 mil, and some poly tape to put a vapor barrier up over the insulation. So what exactly is causing the issue of condensation? Is it multiple issues? You know, so from what I've read, it could be the lack of the vapor and air barrier. It could be too little ventilation, which in the attic, which is not right because I added more. But it could be too much ventilation because I added a gable vent, but I'm not sure. It could be too much airflow in the vents because they're not balanced correctly. Or because there could be a leak underneath here that is causing the cold air from the vents to hit really like warm, humid air underneath. Or it could be somehow the insulation underneath the home that is covering the vents has somehow just doesn't have enough or fallen off or something. Who really knows? Possibly there's not enough return air coming underneath the door. So, you know, you get, what is it, positive pressure that pushes the cold air and stuff into the walls, into the ceiling, and out the, you know, the home. So we might end up having to put some kind of vent, you know, on the door or wall or something. Other thing is we never painted the sheetrock that we put up here. So I guess paint has a certain level of moisture barrier, vapor barrier, you know, and between everything, you know, all combined, there could be multiple reasons why we are getting condensation. So maybe with the right materials, right paint, you know, now that we definitely have thick enough insulation and possibly with, you know, better return air, balancing the vents, everything else, maybe checking for leaks underneath the home, and like the cross vent or something there's a big possibility there's a leak or something at the cross vent. That's what a lot of HVAC techs have told me. So yes, we're putting up the poly sheeting, you know, 6 mil, and we're going to see how that goes, and if it fixes the problem, that'll be great. If it helps the problem, that'll at least get us started. We can always keep the door open at night with a baby gate in it, just to make sure that it's not just this room getting too much you know, airflow. And yeah, put a return vent if that helps. And obviously putting up a ceiling and some kind of sealer or paint on the ceiling, you know, that'll act, like I said, as a vapor barrier supposedly. So we'll see. If worst comes to worst, we'll take this down and we'll cover that gable vent, you know, if nothing else works, to see if we're just getting too much hot, humid air in the attic that is just causing, you know, too much, you know, sweating and stuff between the ceiling and the attic. Obviously balancing the vents, you know, using the adjusters on the register to try to get a balanced airflow throughout the whole home. You know, that might do the trick, you know, with everything else. As you can see, the humidity is 80% in here, which is very high. Well, it's going down pretty fast at 75. You need to try to keep it at 50% or so. So I put the dehumidifier in a different room to check the humidity, and it's about 70. So the other one's probably somewhere around 80, so 8 or 10% difference between the two rooms. It's still very, very high, so hopefully when we fix the room, we'll see some drops in humidity. If not, we have to look for other issues, I guess, causing the high humidity spikes. So I got most of the first layer done. Being one person, first time, I definitely missed some areas in the corner. We should have enough to do that area and to cut the other area there. You just have to have a 6-inch overlap apparently, and I took that piece of sheetrock from the corner over there off so I can finish stapling it up. This is actually a pretty fast job, but hopefully it works. I definitely cut this a little short to go in there, so we're gonna have to overlap the whole thing. Kind of sucks, but hopefully we got enough to do it. So we're pretty much done putting it up. The poly sheeting looks a lot better than it did. There's a few places that I need to cut off, and I got 2 or 3 overlaps here, and probably end up having to put some tape over some of the overlaps. And you know, once the sheetrock and all goes in here, it'll kind of seal the last little bit of air, you know, out of here, hopefully. The end pieces are drooping a little more because I did not attach the sheeting in there yet. So this will allow me to pull it back, you know, and figure out what I'm going to do about putting another board or something to support there for the sheetrock. The other piece is kind of the same. Not that big of an issue, I don't think. I'll just have to shove it in there, and I'm not sure if I can actually staple it anything up there or not, or tape it, but it shouldn't be a problem on this side. So I've taken the rusty ceiling receptacle box down, and I'm thinking about using this, but obviously I can't put the light up on this until the ceiling is up. And problem here is our light's hanging pretty low, so I'm gonna have to probably staple the electrical wiring up there a little bit, and probably tape this off so it doesn't rip it too bad and it doesn't have a lot of air leaks. So we'll see how it goes. So these staples and all basically need to be tapped in with the hammer, make sure they're flat. You know, any like really droopy places I need to re-staple, you know, make sure there's a good amount of staples in. Any holes we need to patch. Seams, like I said, will have to be taped up, and we should be good to go with this part. This is what's left. I basically used all 4 sides, you know, to make sure I had to start with a straight, you know, edge everywhere, and then when I ran out, I kind of strategically put it in sections where we're overlapping it that, you know, it might have been crooked anyway, so, you know, one side may have been longer than the other. Like, that side had a gap, that side started out straight, so put the long side over there, ran it to where you see that little flap there, and that was that. Next video, we'll obviously talk about if this actually worked, if this fixed the condensation, and hopefully we'll be putting up the ceiling